I mean, I guess we'll just start from the beginning. We don't know a lot about you or how you got here.
Yeah.
Just tell us your backstory and how you ended up here on the roster and stuff.
Yeah, so coming out of high school, I was kind of under-recruited guy. Started off, walked on at Oregon State, and then 2 years into my college career, ended up hitting the transfer portal. Got in contact with our O-line G at the time, who was Will Fair, and we kind of talked and, got in touch with Coach Keane too. Ended up here, and yeah, loving it so far.
I saw you were recruited as interior O-line, mostly a guard in high school. Had you played center? Did you have a lot of experience doing that?
So when I was at Oregon State, I was kind of flopping between, guard, center. I would even take some reps at tackle. I was a tackle in high school. So it was kind of a change for me to get into that interior O-line world. But center was always something I knew I was going to have to be able to get into, just being undersized. I'm only 6'2". So I knew that I was going to eventually have to learn how to snap. And me and my trainer in high school would get into snaps, during our workouts and everything like that. So I knew I was eventually going to be a center. Just been training for it for a while.
So was Autzen your first time snapping the ball in a game?
In a game, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Or actually, Georgia Southern, a couple snaps.
Oh, okay.
For that, yeah, first time for the whole game. Yeah.
So as a walk-on, what was appealing about Boise State and the opportunity here? And were you ever coming in with this being the starting center, coming in as the goal, or were you just, what was kind of your thoughts?
That's always the goal. You hear about the history of Boise State with walk-ons. Just looking to other Oregon guys like Tubes who have done it ahead of me. T. Crow, they came in as a walk-on, under-recruited guys, earned their way onto scholarship, earned their way into contributing on the team. So I knew that it was obviously a goal of mine. Just taking everything one step at a time, not coming in expecting to be the starter right away, but just doing what I can every day.
Had Boise State been involved in your recruitment out of high school, or was this kind of transfer with the first time?
Yeah, the first time I talked to him was transfer portal, so I never really was in contact with him in high school now.
Did you ever get in a game at Oregon State?
I did not. No, yeah. So Georgia Southern was my first game action in my college career. It was pretty crazy.
What was it like for you, Lang? You're a Western Oregon kid. You suddenly start in boxing. Just what was that whole experience?
Oh, it was crazy. Growing up as an Oregon kid, there's no denying that your whole life you're dreaming about getting on that field at Autzen in front of all those people. And it was cool too. Just texting with a lot of my friends before the game, hearing that they were gonna be going with me before the game, and then even too, I was telling them after the game, I had people reach out to me like, "Oh, I'm watching the Ducks, and there's Zach Holmes." They kind of forgot I was still playing college football. So, yeah, no, it was cool. I had a lot of family come out to the game, a lot of people showing love. So that was one of my big goals for my whole life, and finally being able to do it was
When
really
did you
cool.
find out you were getting the start?
It was during the week of practice, kind of later on in the week. Me and Jason have been pushing each other for a while, so it was just, whoever was going to be was kind of that later in the week decision. Found out Thursday afternoon, and then, but you always prepare to be the starter, so I was always ready to get out there on the field. But yeah,
So
kind of later
just,
on in the week.
just to be a walk-on, come in, and like I said, you kind of quietly came on the roster, not a lot of people knew about you. Then just what did you do, I guess, to put yourself in this position where when an injury happened, you were the guy they went with?
Yeah. So like I said, you're always preparing to be the starter. Last year I was a scout team guy, but those valuable reps going against Brack, Sheldon, Herb, all those guys in practice every day, that's the thing that I feel like really molded me into the player I am right now. And then taking those skills that I've learned competing with those guys, and then just hammering on film, hammering on in the film rooms, asking questions about our scheme, making sure everything's dialed. When you're an undersized guy too, you kind of have to separate yourself as far as your intelligence in the game and everything like that. So just trying to grow myself as a player. It took a while for me, but I feel good about what I did this year to kind of earn myself to be that spot.
What type of responsibility do you have as the center as far as changing a coverage or a protection?
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that?
So as a center, you're always kind of responsible for reading the defense. You got to know where the linebackers are at, what front they're in. There's some fronts where, they'll have 3 D linemen over here and only 1 over here. How do we identify that as opposed to just a basic even front? So there's a lot of things that go into it as far as making sure everyone's on the same page. And then you get into a loud environment like that, you got to make sure you're loud, communicating, make sure I look over here and tell Ben what to do, and I'm looking over here and telling TK what to do. Make sure everyone's doing the same thing before that ball is snapped, and then obviously snapping the ball and going and blocking.
So you were 2 years at Oregon State, and then last year, did you play at all last year here?
No.
So you literally went 3 full college football seasons without playing one snap.
Yeah.
What kind of kept pushing you to want to keep playing?
It's always been a dream of mine. I knew it was going to be a long process for me, being a walk-on guy. It's just been a dream of mine to take it every day, one step at a time. Big thing for me was always leaning on my faith, knowing that this is all part of God's plan. And I'm going to take it one step at a time. There's hard things. A season doesn't go your way. My first year of college football, I tore my shoulder and I had to get that repaired. I didn't get on the field until next fall camp. So, you know, it was a long process for me, but just sticking to the process every day, doing the same thing, trying to grow that 1% every day, and eventually it worked out.
So, I mean, I know it was because of an injury, which, you know, obviously stinks, but I mean, when you were tapped on the shoulder at Georgia Southern and said you're in, I mean, what was that first play? I mean, what was the moment like? And I mean, I know in the moment you can't really get emotional about it or whatever, or maybe you can, but I mean, just what was that like after all the hard work you've put in?
Oh, it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool to finally get out there. I was a little, I mean, if you watch the play, I'm kind of like messing with the ball because I was almost like nervous for the play. But yeah, it was crazy. I mean, I would always, you know, during the year, I knew that eventually my time was going to come. I was eventually probably going to get on the field, just with the way, you know, maybe we were blowing someone out, we get in the game late. But I always was kind of expecting to get on the field, and then just kind of get that tap. It was like, all right, here we go, let's do it. I mean, you know, one thing that's always kept me going was like, I knew I was going to be able to succeed out there because I have so many reps in practice. You know, I've done this for 4 years now, so I've had probably 1,000 reps under my belt. So the nerves were there for sure, but I just knew, trust my training, go out there, execute.
What did you think when you looked at the whole Oregon game at the end of the game? What did you think you did best? What was your biggest contribution to the effort?
I'm proud of my communication for sure. You know, you get out there in a loud environment, 60,000 people screaming. You know, it's hard to hear that snap count, hard to hear, like some guys next to you maybe aren't hearing what you're saying. So just the fact that we were all able to be on the same page, that's what I'm proud of the most. Yeah, it's just communicating to my guys, making sure we had everything right, and yeah, got it all going.
One thing we learned about you yesterday, you do a great Coach D impersonation. Can we see that?
Yeah, so Coach D, we did this in the skits. Like, Coach D is always hammering the how much he loves you, so he's always pointing up. I don't know what he's pointing at, but he's pointing at something. He's always like, guys, who's this for, guys? It's for you because I love you. It's because I love you guys. So, I mean, he's always hammering that kind of stuff. That was what we hammered those in the skits for making fun of them, you know, doing our little mock team meeting. Now every time we pass each other in the hallway, it's like, Coach D, Coach D. So, yeah, you know, that's been a funny part of the offseason.
He said you had the Danielsonisms to a T. What would you say your top three are from him?
So Coach D, he's it's that point into the sky. Every time he asks you a question, his hand's up here. Again, like I don't know what he's pointing at, but he's doing this, and then he's talking. The other one is frames everything like a question. So you know he'll ask you like, "Hey guys, we're doing 100 decks today. Who's this for, guys?" And you got to be like, "It's for us." I don't know if that's really for you know. Pretty hard, but and then what's the last one? Last one is just hammering how much he loves you. He's always telling us. He probably tells us 20 times a meeting. So, yeah.
To get that first full game under your belt there at Oregon, I mean, just now having a full week of practice and stuff, just how much better, how much more comfortable do you think you'll feel going into Saturday this week?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, that was that one thing is just like learning all the pregame operations. You know, there were some times where I had to get adjusted to where I'm setting the huddle. You know, there's just certain things that you're not really getting reps at in practice because it's not a game. You know, they try our best to emulate a game, but we can't really do it in practice all the time. So now that I've got that game experience under my belt, just being ready to do all that kind of extra operational stuff, you know, I got my pregame routine dialed in, so I feel a lot more confident going into this one.
When you watch yourself on game film, what's kind of the biggest thing you see in your game?
I think one thing that I do best, or the thing I see in my game for sure is, like I talk about kind of being an undersized guy. So like using my leverage to my advantage. You know, you can make being undersized a bad thing, or you can find out how to use it against somebody. And you know, when you're going against someone who's 6'5" and I'm 6'2", that means my pad level is going to be lower. So you can look at it as a bad thing or a good thing, and I try to use it to my advantage.
Have you heard a lot of doubt because of your size?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, and when I was, you know, getting recruited and then in the transfer portal, it was like a broken clock. I mean, you're here, or you know. It was like that was the thing that you're hearing from every coach. You know, well, we love you, but you're 6'2". Well, we love you, but your arms are too short. And you know, you just get used to hearing that, and it's hard not to let that doubt creep in when you're hearing that so much. But that's my thing. It's just sticking confident, you know, learning how to use it to my advantage instead of letting it be a bad thing.
So when you were a kid growing up, did you have a college team? Who did you follow?
That's the funny thing is, Bronco fans might kill me, but my dad was a Fresno State linebacker. So growing up, I was a Fresno State fan. You know, I had a Fresno State jersey, watching all the games, and then kind of did a whole 180. Got my dad wearing blue now. So
When did he play at Fresno?
he played there in the '90s, late '90s, with like Trent Dilfer and them.
So what when you told him you were going to go to Boise State, what was?
I mean, yeah, he was excited, but again, he had to throw out all his Fresno State stuff, turn some of those posters around. So, yeah.
So I don't know. Did they come to the Georgia Southern game?
They weren't at the Georgia
Okay,
Southern
so
game.
what was
no.
like that first phone call, like to either mom or dad or family? Like, what was that like moment like after all the work you've put in after,
Oh, yeah, it was
after that
pretty,
game?
yeah, he was proud for sure. We've had a a lot of those phone calls during the last couple years, you know, fall camp doesn't exactly go your way, and he's, you know, trying to encourage me to stay positive and everything like that, and finally getting to tell him some good news. That was really cool for him to hear. And then, you know, my parents were obviously super proud. I got, you know, grandparents and uncles calling me after that. So, yeah, it was really cool.
I mentioned kind of not a lot of people know about you. What do you want Boise State fans to know about you?
I guess the number one thing, I'm just, you know, going to be a hard worker, going to put my best foot forward every day. Come out here, do the best to encourage my guys, you know, even if I'm not in the field. Just want to do what I can to help the team in the best way possible, team player.
How tight is this O-line room? It looked like I saw you at practice today asking questions, talking to the starters. It looks real supportive.
Yeah.
They say, when we were talking to Cage last week, he was so excited for the guys at 6 through 8.
Yeah, no, it's a super tight group. It's a family in there. I mean, we break down every day on O-line pride. Everyone's super happy to be a part of this O-line room. Everyone, you know, loves each other. We're always, you know, in the film room, someone messes up, the first person to kind of tell you is the guy next to you. And, you know, one thing that's super helpful for me you talked about is like Mason's out there. He's right behind me after every play. So, I mean, I go out there, something doesn't feel right, I can turn around and ask Mason a question. He's right there with an answer. He's always watching, always ready to pick me up. So that's been a huge part of it, is how much these guys support each other in our O-line room. We're a really close unit, yeah.
What is it about this group? I mean, you guys were down 2 starters in the game and really didn't miss a beat there on the line.
Well, yeah, I mean, Coach Keane prepares us really well. So Coach Keane's, you know, like I said, prepare like you're the starter. That's something Coach Keane has instilled in us every day. I mean, we're constantly rotating units. You know, if the second unit messes up, it's just as big as a deal as if the first unit messes something up. He's always hammering on us that you have to be ready when your time comes. And he's done a really good job preparing us for those moments, to the fact where we can just go out there and play football.
Last one. What's your relationship like with Madson? Both, I guess, shorter, undersized players in your position, probably didn't have the big schools beating down your door. What's that like?
Yeah, it's been super cool getting to work with Mad Dog. Me and him are getting pretty close. He's a real confident guy, so his confidence kind of, you know, helps me stay more confident for the games. You know, I know that something messes up, we can talk about it. He's going to know what I did wrong, what I can improve on. So that's something I can always turn around, and he's there to kind of, same way that Mason or someone else in the O-line room is. He's telling me maybe get that snap up a little bit more. So, yeah, he's a super supportive quarterback. I love playing with him.